when we skip the steps, when we think that money is an outcome that's based upon luck or greed, then ultimately we feel out of control in our lives. We don't know our win. And the way that we get to a win is we go, what if you were to design your life? Hi, this is Garrett Gunderson, and welcome to What's Your Win? A lot of people are going through life. They're trying to navigate all this chaos. There's so much complexity. There's inflation that's going on. They're working so hard that there's barely any time for themselves. And in a world where we're trying to do anything from raise kids to start a business to find a career to simply just keep up, we're losing our win. So I've got my business partner and co-host Corey Wirt with me. Corey, what's up?
Nice to be here.
In from Toronto,
in the lab.
Yeah. So this is a topic that I think that has been especially learned through hard lessons. Absolutely. We can even talk some of the hard lessons that I've had. And really the concept of What's Your Win is we win when we play. We can actually discover a way that we create a life we don't want to retire from.
I think there couldn't be a more important topic to be talking about these days.
Yeah, like when I didn't know my win, we remember that, not too long of a distance. And it was like, let's just do 15 cities in the middle of COVID and go do a comedy tour where nobody knows I'm a comedian. This will be amazing. And it was while I was on stage, but when I wasn't on stage, it was a lot of work.
It was all the
stress
moments, yeah.
Yeah, you yelled at me.
I did a few times.
So let's dissect this concept of what's your win. I mean, most people are stuck either playing not to lose, doing all they can to hold on to what they've got. Usually protection and security are at the forefront of their mind and everything that they live for. But then there's this other faction of people playing to win. And that's definitely something I've been accustomed to in the past. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs wear it as like a badge or moniker, like, yeah, I play to win. I remember speaking at MIT for this thing called Gathering the Titans. And they brought in like the new people that were attending, and one guy, they were asking what would be their last words, and he said, play to win. And I was like, oh, dude, this is going to be one heck of a presentation I'm about to give, because that's going to be his last words. The problem with play to win is it's only focused on the future, always on this treadmill, never enjoying the present. And so it's more like running from problems and chasing down something to fill a void that can't be filled.
Absolutely. And when you're focusing only on the outcome and not the process and the joy that the process can bring to you, then many times when you get to that trophy, you realize it's an empty trophy.
Hollow.
Yeah.
I really am disappointed you didn't say 100% when I said that.
I'm going to try consciously not to say 100%, 100 times in this.
Yeah, we, as part of like, we win when we play, as part of our philosophy, when we get together, we laugh a lot. We talk about a lot of things, but we joke about the things that we talk about too much, because we have this guy, Dr. Craig Manning, that we work with, and he talked about having these codes to like remind yourself of things when you're in the middle of like high stakes moments. Like he works with a lot of athletes. And so I immediately messed with Corey.
Yes, you did.
My response. And
I think I clapped back pretty well though.
Very well. The only difference is now the word 100% is just stuck in your mind anytime someone says it.
Everywhere.
And every time you say
haunts
it.
Me.
So 100%. So let's begin with, when you know your win, you've already won.
Absolutely.
So most people think that they're trying to get to some far off distance. Like, if I just work hard enough, if I just sacrifice enough, then one day, someday, I'll finally be able to live the life that I enjoy.
It's deferring for the future, an uncertain future.
Deferring doesn't really work in many areas of life. Like when my wife wants me to do something, I defer it. That never goes well.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. But it's also reminds me of a joke.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
But I'm like, hey, baby, you want to hook up? She's like, later. That just means no. It's just the polite way to say it.
It's an uncertain outcome in the future for sure.
Like, later. When my kids tell me they're going to do something later, it's not going to get done. It means I'm going to have to manage this at a whole different level.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how we've been trained to live, on later, on one day.
Absolutely.
And one of the most critical decisions in our win is knowing our career and knowing what we're going to do that actually is compelling enough. But when we get in the trappings of materialism and we want to buy a lot of things, and I mean, I'm in my 20s, it's like, sucks because you're like, oh, I'm young, but I don't have cash.
Yeah.
And Fortunately, you can live with roommates and all that kind of stuff, but still, it's easy to get a credit card and want to spend money on that. And then all of a sudden, there's this very quick line to I have to work instead of I get to choose what I want to do for work.
Yeah.
And we're in a world where a lot of people are doing jobs that they don't like. And that's part of the reason why I think they got government checks and then people are like, I don't want to go back to work because they weren't in a fulfilling job. They weren't in a career that mattered to them. They didn't feel like they were in a way of delivering value. And so ultimately, I think when we do the things that we hate, we lose energy, and it takes like 4 or 5 times more energy in those types of situations than following something that we enjoy, even when we have to do things that aren't fun to get that. Like just turned in a book today, and
congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, it's just been a lot of my life in that
5 years or so.
I actually cried when I sent it to the publisher. They probably cried. We're like, oh my God, this is only 4 years behind schedule. That's all. I just didn't have the experience and knowledge and what happened in life to write about it. But one of the stories in this was not knowing my win and having this great moment where film a comedy special, feel on top of the world, but then without knowing a win, get in the trappings of more. Oh, well, if that was good, more is better. And if we do even more cities, and if it's all sold out and all this, it was just like now I was in the play to win. I was on the treadmill. Yeah. I wasn't sleeping enough. I wasn't enjoying life. Energy starts to be diminished. And how many people take the time to sit down and be like, well, what's a win for me?
Absolutely. And if you don't define the game that you're trying to play, then it's easy for you to lose sight when you're playing the game. And so you start out with something that you're passionate about, and comedy is something that you love. It's been a hobby of yours. It gives you fulfillment. It gives you joy. But then the trappings of how you went about it, because you hadn't defined the winning game and what the outcome of that, then all of a sudden, and I watched your energy levels start to kind of diminish a little bit around this. And while you were on stage, you loved the interaction. You loved making the crowd laugh. But it was all those in-between moments where we hadn't defined how we wanted to build that game. And how do we have joy in the process, not just the outcome of being on stage. And so I think that was just a massive learning lesson, which has created a lot of conversation and clarity for us. Because now when we're looking at an opportunity, we don't get lost in that opportunity. We don't bend to that opportunity. We make the opportunity bend to us, to the lifestyle that we want, to the game that we want to play, to keep the joy in our day. And I think that's something really unique that most people don't do.
Talk about that outcome versus process.
So again, like outcome is an uncertain future, right? And so there's this concept, and you and I have been talking about this a lot the last couple of days, where there's like this message in the market where it's like, do what you love and you will be successful. And I think that is so dangerous, because just because you're doing something that you love doesn't mean the outcome of that is going to be
like, I love to masturbate, but
well, it's interesting that's where you decided to go with this. But
I wanted to see if I could make you laugh.
Well, I also feel like that outcome is always rewarding. So
it's hollow, it's shallow.
I totally lost where I was now.
Outcome versus process.
So
and we've been talking for the past few days about people just like, oh, this is what I love to do, and I'm just going to do what I love, but the dollars don't always follow that.
And so I feel like there's just a little bit of a misalignment in that message, because stop looking at me like that. Because when you do something that you love, what that does is it gives you the power in the process to keep going when things get hard.
Right.
And that, I think, is the magic within doing what you love. It's not a guaranteed successful outcome.
It's also not guaranteed that you'll make more money.
No.
Because 1999, if people remember, that was a year before the 2000s. I was graduating college, and
so 1999 was the year before the 2000s.
There's people that weren't even born that are watching this, so they don't even know what's going on. They didn't know that was a thing. They don't know what CDs are. They don't know what DVDs are. Yeah, they've never seen these things, so they think 1999 is a song that's super old by Prince.
That's a great song, though.
Yeah, it is a good song. So I'm graduating and I have all these job offers because it was just a really strong market and a strong economy, and I was good at interviewing, and I had job offers at investment banks, and I'm certain I would have more money if I would have worked at an investment bank. I'm also certain I'd be more miserable if I worked at an investment bank.
100%.
So that's one of the conundrums or traps that people kind of have to look for, and why it's important to know your win.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, society will define your win for you. And that win looks like more, bigger, better, faster, all at the expense of today. And so we're always in this frenetic, frantic mindset of I've got to get what's mine, because if not, someone's going to take it. That is what the consumeristic nature of society has cultivated. And it's this notion of chasing awards and accolades and trophies
or
and
that there's
status.
this threshold that once you get to that, now
I'm going to be happy. Right, and you sold your business for a good amount of money back in the day.
And it was the most
your
hollow
least happy.
victory. Absolutely. It created an identity crisis for me. It was followed by a depression. It was the blues weren't bluer, the greens weren't greener. It was something that I had pursued for a long time in my life. And when I got there, it was like a what the fuck sort of moment.
Right. Well, this is the lottery syndrome. Mm-hmm. Like, people want to have some big event, whether it's an exit or, like, last night we were in these conversations and someone brought up they were buying lottery tickets. I'm like, really?
I watched you had to bite
really?
your tongue. You just sat
that is
back
a tax on people that are not in the know. Like, I get why someone buys it, and the value they get is they get to dream for a minute. Like, what would I do with this?
Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you, if you get money without learning your value, without developing your knowledge of how to earn that, and without building the relationships that are required to grow that, what it is a hollow victory that's without a win.
Well, how many times do you hear a lottery winner that's like literally bankrupt and dead broke 10 years after winning like $170 million?
Yeah, I wrote all those lottery jokes. I don't know if we even put them in the special, but I was like, people that win the lottery lose it life.
Yeah.
Because all these people come out of the woodwork. They're like, hey, can you buy me a car? Take care of my bills. You've got dinner, right? All that kind of stuff. And so there's consumption without knowledge. And then that's why they end up in jail or bankrupt. But you know what? They shouldn't have bought a tiger. You know, that's the kind of stuff that happens with a lottery winner. But you know, this is the issue, is when we skip the steps, when we think that money is an outcome that's based upon luck or greed, then ultimately we feel out of control in our lives. We don't know our win. And the way that we get to a win is we go, what if you were to design your life? What do you want to do on a daily basis? And what if money was an extension of you living a quality of life that was consistent with who you are, what you want to do, and that allows you to have energy behind the work that you do? And most people go, well, can you do that? Well, my wife got interviewed for this origin story we're doing, and my son was, I think, 7 at the time, or 9, like really young. Yeah. And she said, well, there was no job for Garrett when he graduated college because I turned down all those other jobs. She goes, so he just created his own. And my youngest was like, what do you mean he created his own job? She goes, well, he's an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurs can just invent things. Yeah. He's like, I want to be an entrepreneur. Nope. And you don't have to be an entrepreneur to invent things or to find a career. I think you could be intrapreneurial, where you find organizations where you can thrive because of the process or structure aligns with who you are. No doubt. I think sometimes we overemphasize entrepreneurship if we're entrepreneurs, and neglect that only entrepreneurs in this world would be a dangerous world. Nothing would actually get done. There would be a whole lot of ideas and a whole lot of things without guardrails.
A world full of rock stars and nothing else is a dangerous world.
So designing the game, knowing the win, that's the process.
And I think the outcome of that is life happens for you, not life happens to you. And when you don't know the game that you want to play, when you don't know the win, then when all these outside circumstances and influences come in, life starts happening to you and you're back on a treadmill. And it doesn't matter if you have a lot of money or not a lot of money. It doesn't, like, that is not a function of being wealthy or not being wealthy. And you see that everywhere. And I really feel it's because people don't sit down to design the perfect life. And that doesn't mean I want this house. That doesn't mean I want this many vacations a year. It's the nuances in between. Like, where's my passion? Where's my hobby? What do I do for myself? What do I do for my family? What do I do for my relationships? And I think when you start to fill that in, it just kind of blocks out the outside influence of the world. You insulate yourself in your win.
And you blur the lines between work and play. So just
the whole idea of 9 to 5, and then you get the weekend for yourself. It doesn't have, like, I get that it's the industrial complex. It made a ton of sense at some point, but we're in the information age. That construct no longer serves us or no longer works, and it doesn't have to be that way, but it's just been ingrained and it's been a reality for the last 50, 80 years, however long, and it's something that we haven't kind of shaken ourselves out of yet.
I think that part of the reason that we don't know our win is because of the conditioning of society, which we've talked about, but mostly because of fear.
Hey, you made it till the end, so I'm going to give you a bit of a bonus here. There's something called a money persona. It's like a money personality, and there's 4 different types out there. Which type are you? Well, once you understand, you'll know how to make better financial decisions and how to avoid the pitfalls and mistakes of what we call the shadow persona. So click the link, take the quiz, and if you feel so inclined, let us know which one you are.